All right, we're live. Okay, good. Hi, and welcome to Speaking from the Center. I am Tim.
I'm Nolan.
And I'm Chris.
That's Nolan, and then there we go, Chris. There we go. So today, we're going to be talking about a few different things. Our main topic is going to be the House of Representatives and why it's so fucked. But we do have some other news topics we got to get to.
Always such a positive spin.
Yeah, always such a positive. Our government is well run. It's well run. But before we get to all that, I wanna plug our stuff up at the beginning so that the people that are watching can go do it now. So, if you end up liking the show, you can go to patreon.com/sftc, and you can become a patron, just like Jenna, who is a producer of the show, which we'll have on. We'll have her on in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And go and like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube and just follow all the links at the bottom because they're fun.
Yes.
So, also, I want to start doing this too. If anyone has any questions for any of us, submit them in the comment section below, or you can write us an email or a rant or whatever you feel. We'll put it on the internet. So let's get to our first segment, which is international news.
Hooray!
We're going global now.
Going global.
So clearly, the most important of the international news stories is one that we've all been talking about today, and that is the fact that it's Bastille Day.
Is it Bastille Day?
It is Bastille Day.
Wow.
Bum, 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 bum.
Do you want to explain the history of Bastille Day to people, to America, because they probably don't understand?
Well, it's a French thing. So there's a lot of baguettes and no. The Bastille Day commemorates the storming of the Bastille back in, I want to say 1789, when the French Revolution swept the country and brought down their centuries-old monarchy, the House of Bourbon, in the personage of Louis the 15th, I want to say.
Yeah, it was either 14th or 15th, right?
Well, there was the Sun King, and that was Louis the 13th or 14th. And then 2 generations later, his grandson kind of fucked it all up. And anyway, it commemorates when the people of Paris stormed the Bastille, which was a large fortress in the outskirts of the city. It also had the city's armory. They stormed it to free political prisoners, arm themselves, and then go on to use that equipment to topple the government and establish a republic of sorts. And then get a little head choppy after that. But
yeah, a little head choppy.
I mean, let's be honest here, man. In the grand scheme of revolutions that we've seen since, a little head choppy. Like you look at it and you go, well, they chopped a lot of people's heads off. Yes, because A, it was the most humane form of execution at the time. As barbaric as we view it today, back in the 18th century, it was one of the most humane ways to execute a person.
Well, yeah, it was either that or hanging, or...
Well, you could hang them, you could shoot them, you could trample them with horses, you could draw and quarter them, People were still doing those things, so...
Were they still doing stonings? Was that still a thing?
In certain parts of the world, yes.
It's still a thing in certain parts of the world today.
Keep in mind, the Inquisition was still running in Italy during this time.
Dear God.
So, by comparison, guillotining, very humane. If horrifying by today's standards. And again, the Jacobins were only around for like maybe a couple of months.
Yeah, that's true, because then they implode at some point.
They implode, and then the architect of all that, Robespierre, was himself guillotined. Like, you got to
Yeah.
look at it from the grand scheme of things, from like 1789 when the French Revolution began to like 1815, right? Like, the majority of that time frame is taken up by Napoleon. So in reality, the Jacobins are like 6 months in the early stages, and that was it.
Right.
The rest was all Napoleon and war, which is the more fun time period anyway. So
So let's get to our other international news topics.
yeah, sorry, I had to pull the Bastille card out of nowhere. I know we
Italy-
were talking about it.
Italy won the European Cup.
Yeah. Fuck England.
Yeah.
They're never gonna win one.
They're never Wayne, it's never coming home.
Nope. So there's a great thing. It said football is coming home. And somebody crossed out the OOT B and put UCK above it.
Yeah, I was definitely vested into that game because I really wanted England to lose.
I was very into the World Cup until France sorry, it's not the World Cup, it's the Euro Cup.
Yeah.
I was very into the Euro Cup up until France got knocked out. And then a couple other major soccer countries got knocked out, and it looked like it was going to be, the little shits that nobody cares about. It was shaping up to be like Belgium, Denmark, the Czech Republic, and like one other small country were going to make it into the final, and then that didn't happen. But I stopped once France got knocked out in one of the most bullshit games I've ever seen in my life. I stopped watching. I was so pissed.
But yeah, Italy, European champions.
Woo! Again. Second time in our lifetimes. Probably more, actually, but second time that I recall paying attention.
Let's relate that to another news story that's going on. The Olympics. They will not have any fans at the Olympics because of the ongoing COVID thing in Japan.
Because America keeps hogging all the vaccines.
Yeah.
And the Delta variant is pretty crazy from what last I heard, over in Asia. But I mean, as connected as the world is, it's a matter of time before it gets here. So doom and gloom.
I heard it's already the dominant strain in most of the country, in this country.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I heard it was mostly spreading in the South, where the dumbasses don't want to wear masks and don't believe in vaccines. So
That is correct.
that's fine. It can kill those people.
It is mostly the unvaccinated who are getting it.
What a shock. Wow. Hi, Karen.
So let's talk about, let's see. Oh, and also the little scandal with I forget her name, but the American runner who can't go to the Olympics now because she tested positive for pot.
Yeah, Shikari.
Yeah, apparently she's one of the fastest runners in the world. She's the fastest runner in the country. And, because the Olympics, the International Olympic Organization is ridiculous, she can't be in the Olympics.
They have rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while let's be fair here, not everybody in the world is okay with marijuana as some of America is. Because let's keep in mind, not even America is 100% on board with
That's
marijuana being okay. So for the Olympics to have it and us be like, whoa, that's terrible. It's like, yeah, there are still places in this country where it's a felony, pal. Let's not throw too many stones at the glass house. But again, like, they have rules. They have rules. You break those rules, you get caught, you suffer the consequences. That's generally how rules work. It sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to her, but it's how rules go, man.
It's the first I'm hearing of this, but yeah, it sucks. I mean, I don't see marijuana as a enhancement drug when it comes to athleticism.
It's definitely not an enhancement drug.
I mean, if it was me, I'd just be sitting on a couch all day eating junk food. Like, it's the opposite of what athletes do.
Yeah,
So-
it's not a performance enhancing drug. It's just if you test positive for any sort of drug,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
on their list.
From what I remember, a lot of athletes use marijuana as a pain management drug. So if they are sore all the time or they have lots of injuries that are chronic, then they do that instead of pills.
I've heard that in cases of certain diseases. I've never heard it for athletes ever.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, it's
Is
one
it,
of the-
or did they just want to smoke weed?
you know,
You're talking about athletes with chronic illnesses, and I'm thinking baseball, football, and then I'm thinking, did it or did they just want to smoke weed?
well, it's more
A
of like
little of both.
yeah, it's more of like if you have like a major injury, like say you tear your ACL or something, like that shit's gonna hurt forever.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while they were giving it. You could get marijuana. You get the for chronic illnesses, for cancer,
Yeah.
and certain other things. You could get prescribed that as pain management.
I mean, in Connecticut soon it'll just be whatever.
I mean,
Do whatever you want.
it's
It
legal now.
All right, it was legal as of July 1st, right?
Yeah.
Yep, first or third,
The
probably
first,
the first.
Yeah.
but it's just a matter of, I think, just kind of what people can do in regards of the job opportunities and the job infrastructure of it. They're planning on rolling out those laws and everything.
Yeah, I think that's like springtime next year.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
But it's unfortunate that happened to her, and I wish she would have gotten a chance to compete. But again, like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but if you're training for that and you know the rules and you knowingly break them, like whether you agree with the rule or not,
Right.
like you agreed to follow it and then you broke it.
Right.
Coming back and going, well, it's a stupid rule, isn't? And she hasn't done that.
No, she hasn't.
Credit. It's everybody
Everyone-
else is losing their collective shit over it.
Everyone else is doing that for her, and she's like, there's nothing I can do about it now.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's that whole, there are consequences to actions.
Yeah.
Something we as a country, I think, need to relearn.
Speaking of consequences and actions, the president of Haiti assassinated.
Yeah.
How about this is one I didn't know about until just today.
Yeah. It was a couple days ago. I want to say earlier this week.
Yep. There's a lot going on there. If you want, I can unpack some of it.
Yes, please.
Okay. So basically what happened is these two individuals stormed the president's house. They seemed to be dressed up. They had guns and they said that they were officials. Some people thought they were the DEA of America, the Drug
Enforcement Agency.
Thank you. I forgot what the E stood for. So they said, nobody move. This is not a drill. Like, everybody stand down. So everybody just heard that and was like, okay, they look important and they're from the United States. There was rumors that they spoke English and Spanish. So right there, they knew they weren't Haitian because they mostly speak French and Creole down there. Those are the two dominant languages. And then early reports said that the president and his wife were shot and killed. Then they found out that the wife had just been shot and was in critical state. I don't know the update on her. And then at the time, the prime minister who's currently acting is the interim prime minister. And the prime minister that the president had elected was about to go into power, and then COVID hit, so they have postponed it. So it's all but said and done. He's all but sworn in. And now there's kind of a grab for power there as the prime minister of Haiti.
Hmm.
So
I wonder if, because obviously it sounds like a CIA job, but I wonder if it wasn't the Dominican Republic.
could have been both working together.
Them and Haiti have a long and storied history together of hating each other. They fought each other, I'm pretty sure. There have been wars over that little island between the two of them. And the Dominican Republic side is predominantly Spanish speaking.
Correct.
So it would not surprise me at all if there was some sort of thing between the DR and Haiti and it led to this. And let's hope it's just a botched CIA thing. It's good to know, though, that the people of Haiti are so conditioned to U.S. government agents showing up and demanding things that two guys did it and they all just went, oh, okay, is it that time again? Like they just shrugged, like, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Sounds about right.
Well, they also had guns.
Yeah. Well, but why would it be? Why would they say they were DEA? Like that's not even.
I don't think they said that they were DEA. I think they
okay.
assumed that. Like there was something about the way they were dressed and the
they
vest.
were wearing clothing that I think said DEA on it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's where a lot of the drugs that get into America come from is the Caribbean and Mexico.
Yeah.
So the DEA showing up to search the presidential palace. Or who knows? Maybe maybe it was a filming for the upcoming, Bad Boys movie, and things just got out of hand.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna false flag something, why don't you just say you're CIA? I mean, that's like the most common. If you were like, "Oh, we're CIA," they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense."
Because maybe they were CEA, they didn't want to give it away. They couldn't say it without smiling, so they had to go with DEA.
I see.
Before brutally murdering the president of Haiti.
Yeah. So this is creating a power vacuum, and I assume that it's going to plunge the government into some sort of chaos.
I mean, the government's still wrecked from the earthquake that hit back in 2010. You remember that?
Yeah, Haiti's not had a good. They've not had a good last 10 years.
I think you go back a little further than that, but yeah.
No good time for Hades, but again, from what I hear.
Well, let's shift to a different Caribbean island.
Okay.
Cuba.
Now, I don't know what's going on in Cuba. So.
Well, Cuba had itself some protests, some large protests.
Okay.
Across Havana and other major cities on the island. They shouted anti-government slogans and were all very quickly broken up and arrested by the secret police.
Oh.
And what I think it has a lot to do with is the people's frustration, probably over the economic situation, but that's been pretty much the same since the blockade went up in the 60s under Kennedy. Or Eisenhower, actually.
Yeah, I think it was Eisenhower. Jesus.
Yeah. There's a great political cartoon, and it shows Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton.
Bush. Jr.
Yeah, and I think it just says it's each one of them saying one part of the sentence is the Cuban government will fall at any time. Just showing how long that government's been there and how many presidents have been saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, what I think drove these protests more than anything is the continuing COVID crisis. They're going on year and a half now. Mm-hmm. There are no vaccines. It's nothing but stay at home. And the island economy is, struggling at the best of times.
Yeah.
This has not made things better. And just people are getting fed up. And again, since Cuba's one of probably a fairly isolated nation in the Western Hemisphere, they're just getting nothing.
Yeah.
No relief, no vaccines, Nothing. And there doesn't appear like anything's on the horizon, and people are starting to snap.
Yeah. And plus, over the last, let's say, 8 years, the U.S. government has been very wishy-washy about their policy with Cuba because Obama was like, oh, maybe we can kind of be friends with Cuba again. And then Trump got elected, and he's like, no, none of that friends stuff is going on here.
I think the death of Fidel Castro played a large part in that.
Yeah.
His brother took over, and now I don't know who's in charge of Cuba. I know it's not Raul Castro anymore, I don't think.
Let's find out. Wikipedia will tell us.
Is it Canada? Is Canada in charge of Cuba?
Yes.
I know they're really good friends. It's an interesting theory that they think that Justin Trudeau is actually the bastard child of Fidel Castro. They say he looks more like him than his actual father.
Those people. Let's see. Who is in charge of Cuba? Republic of Cuba. Government. It says Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. That's a lot of names he's got.
That's a Spanish last name's work.
The prime minister is Manuel Moreira Cruz. But yeah, there's no Castros in the top government officials anymore.
Is it still communist?
They consider them. Wikipedia considers them a unitary Marxist-Leninist one-party socialist dictatorship.
So yes,
Yes.
I think that's what those grab bag of words together means.
Since it contains both Leninist and Marxist, I'm going to say yes.
Nobody is Marxist-Leninist anymore. Nobody.
Their legislature is the National Assembly of People's Power.
Yeah. Okay. So commie, full on. Got it.
Yeah.
Are they the most Western communist state?
They are one of the only communist, if not the only communist nation in the Western Hemisphere.
Okay.
I think, yeah. Because I don't think there's any South American communist countries.
Well, Venezuela with Hugo Chavez, kind of, sort of, but God knows. Actually, the funny part is there's still part of Cuba, allegedly, that is controlled or owned by East Germany.
Really?
Yeah, during the 80s, there was this whole ceremony, and there was like a tiny, tiny little island. I don't even think anybody lived on it. Like near Havana Harbor or something. And Fidel was like, here is a gift, a bit of sovereign territory for the East Germans, our communist friends. And then East Germany collapsed and nobody ever relinquished control. So it's still technically under the control of East Germany, even though they made no claim to it. You know, one of those honorary things, like how Russia and Japan never formally ended World War II between the two of them.
Oh yeah, they're still fighting over that coastline, right?
Islands, I think it's the Pacific, so islands, but yeah. Technically, something went screwy. Like the Soviet Union signed the instrument of surrender, but didn't sign a formal peace. Kind of how North and South Korea are only in an armistice and never have had officially signed a peace treaty.
Right. They're in a
armistice.
A ceasefire.
Yeah, ceasefire.
Yeah. Do you want to make any other comments about Cuba? All right.
I don't know much. I know that Colombia is also going through a lot of government riots, but I'm a little uncertain about what. I think between COVID and just how the government's been treating its people.
I think that's just how Latin American governments are.
Yeah, at this point, there's been so much CIA intervention and then no economic assistance for quite some time from the U.S. government.
Yeah,
those countries have.
Oh, that was the thing that was going on in Cuba. Hippos. Hippos are not native to Colombia. And
to Colombia or to Cuba?
No, to Colombia.
Right.
I'm sorry, did I say Cuba?
You said Cuba.
Okay, I was talking about Colombia. They're having a crisis with hippos over there.
Oh.
and it's,
because what's his name? The big cocaine drug lord of the late 80s, Pablo Escobar, kept
Uh-huh.
some as pets, and when he got killed, they got set free, and they're an invasive species that have been breeding and are wrecking the aquatic ecosystem of Colombia as a result.
wow.
How do they?
Aren't hippos like an apex predator too? Like they don't have any natural enemies.
Yeah, no, well, I mean,
Unless they're sick, like a lion, a group of lioness will take a hippo down if the hippo is sick and weak and cannot fend him or herself.
But how many lions are there in Colombia?
How many did Pablo Escobar have?
yeah, that's the problem. They're running amok, and the river wildlife in Colombia is falling. Ecosystem is falling apart because these invasive hippos are breeding and spreading. And there weren't that many to begin with, so they're slightly inbred. So they're just the dumbest, most aggressive hippos.
Wait, does that mean that they're hungry hippos?
God damn it!
How many more minutes of this podcast? I'm done. I'm done.
We're still in for another 30 or so minutes. So
okay.
strap in.
Us.
All right.
right.
That's we'll change from that's international news. Yay. So yeah, we should have music for that or something, like some sort
Just
of
like a speaking from the center Batman style.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So before we get to the main topic, I would just like to remind our listeners that you can post comments in the comment section and ask us questions, and we will answer them.
That would require listeners, Tim.
That would require a few more listeners. So let's go to the main topic, which is the United States House of Representatives.
Yeah.
The House of Representing.
The House of batshit crazy people.
Oh. Why this?
It's America in microcosm. What's the problem, Tim?
So there are three sort of like debate questions I want to ask you guys about this. Okay. And these have been debates about the House of Representatives for a while. The first one is the membership of the House of Representatives is capped at 435 members.
Right.
The Constitution originally wanted them to be a proportional representation of, I think it was one representative for every 30,000 people. And obviously it is not that way anymore, because if there was one representative for every 30,000 people, there'd be upwards of 1,000 or 1,500 representatives at this point.
That's about right.
The problem that creates is the districting, and some representatives like represent an entire state, like Wyoming or something like that, where one representative represents an entire state, or say New York or California, where you have like a representative for a neighborhood in Queens, or one representative for just a section of LA.
Yeah.
So the question is, should the United States House of Representatives be expanded to allow for more representatives, or should it remain the same?
So you do realize that they don't really get anything done as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's
you want to give them more voices to be
discordant
with each other.
That's one of the arguments, is that there's 435 of them. Like, they don't know each other at that point. Like, you only know the people that you're caucusing with. You only know the people in your party. The other guys, fuck them. There's 200 of them. How are you going to remember all those people?
There's a website. You can look them up. No. So those are good points, but I'd be interested to see if the lines were changed, and or if more representatives were to be added to properly represent the people. But again, there's 435 of them, and they still can't make a decision.
So would it be easier for them to make a decision if there was more of them? because then they could, they could whip votes easier where there's more people, so maybe they can get majorities easier,
Yeah.
or perhaps build coalitions differently.
So just as a point of reference, when we talk about 1,500 people being a lot, the representative body in the People's Republic of China, the National People's Congress, has nearly 3,000 members.
But they also have 1 billion people.
Yeah, 1 billion plus people.
Well, yes, which means that is proportionally a smaller amount of representation. But I'm just saying it's doable. We could do a half of that.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the reasons for them capping it at 435 was how many people they could reasonably fit into the House chambers in the Capitol building.
Well, rebuild it. It got all banged up on January 6th. I'm sure there's a way to fix it.
Also, I think it would be a great idea for senators and our representatives to learn how to use Zoom.
Oh.
That's a way to, relate to constituents.
I mean, they should expand it, but maybe instead of expanding the membership, they redraw the districting lines.
Yeah.
So you don't have, like if one senator represents or one representative is the only person the state of Wyoming has, like I'm fine with that because that's about one more person than actually lives in Wyoming. I just does he turn the light off before he leaves to come to DC? That's what I wonder.
Yeah. He makes sure that they turn off the heat too, so it doesn't waste heat.
That's good.
Good.
But
It's very cold. It's very cold in Wyoming.
Yeah.
But like Los Angeles, and I get it's the second most populous city in the United States, but maybe, I mean, instead of having neighborhoods where they get one representative, maybe just towns. So like New York City has 5 boroughs. So instead of, I don't know how many representatives come out of New York City, but maybe 2 per borough.
Yeah, they could restructure it a bit, but at what point? So the whole point of the House of Representatives is it's supposed to be more of it was initially the only branch of government that got people directly elected by the people. And it's meant to be a more accurate representation. Like they're supposed to be representing on a more almost 1-to-1 level. Like they're not, but obviously. Whereas senators are more abstract. It's like, how many states are there? Cool. 2. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to give the actual population representation, which seems redundant and obvious based on the name, but
Try imagining 435 people on a Zoom call. I don't have to imagine it. I've been on a Zoom call with close to 200 people. It's anarchy. It is complete anarchy. And especially if they're older, like some congressmen and congresswomen are, and they're not technology. Yeah. Is this on? Am I muted?
Is it working? Can you see me?
I would watch C-SPAN all day. All day.
They're just every 5 minutes. Can someone get the tech support guy here? Can we get IT up here? I don't think my stuff's working.
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat.
Please, as a friendly reminder, mute yourself if you are not talking.
They
don't want any background noise.
They gave the moderators in the Zoom calls the power to mute everyone so that you wouldn't get all the people unmuting themselves. Because that 200-person Zoom call, the moderator was like, I have to mute everyone. Otherwise, this is going to be madness.
What was it for?
Oh, it was a DTC. It was a Democratic Town Committee meeting. And it was about 150 people in it. And old people don't know how to use technology.
Is it working?
Touch screen? Is it a touch screen?
Yeah.
Can I touch it? Does that
It's especially bad when people have their phones, because then the phone's like just up against their face, trying to
Oh.
figure out where the camera is.
I
Yeah,
hate
yeah,
I hate it when people talk like on the phone. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. And like the camera isn't straight on like all three of
yeah.
us, like angled down, and you look up their nostrils and you're like, I can see two bats trying to come out the cave there, mister. No, it's like it's a very unflattering conversation.
Yeah.
Let me see if I
Yeah,
can-
No, go further back, and you just see up their
yeah.
nostrils.
There you go. There you go.
A little.
Hello? Am I
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
Can you? Am I clean? You guys gotta.
No.
I'm gonna make this the thumbnail for this episode.
Thanks.
So a quick
Ow.
point of reference: Los Angeles, California, has 15 congressional districts in it.
How many representatives per district? One.
Yeah.
Okay.
That seems small for how many people live there.
Well, California's population hasn't quite grown as some other states, so they've lost a few congressional districts along the way, and some of them have come from LA.
Okay.
But LA's not growing.
LA's not growing as fast as other parts of the country.
Really?
It is growing, but it's not growing.
What's growing faster? I'm wondering.
Florida,
Oh,
Well,
that doesn't count.
Florida, and Texas.
Florida's barely part of America.
Florida makes sense because that's where all the boomers go to retire. And
It's the elephant graveyard. She's not wrong.
and then and that works on multiple levels since it's mostly Republican. And then Texas is growing because, well, from what I've noticed, it's Austin and like its major cities are attracting a lot of young people.
Yeah.
So it's like the young version of Florida.
And
that's- Go ahead.
those young people are turning Texas purple.
Yeah.
Also, it's probably safe to say that Texas is literally on the front line of the immigration issues America is having.
Yeah. Quite literally.
So that also would incur a boom of population and growth.
Oh yeah.
Although so's California, so I don't know what their excuse is.
And Arizona, New Mexico, but
No, that makes sense. There's nothing in those states.
It's just tumbleweeds.
Well, there's like what? You got Flagstaff, Arizona.
Phoenix, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Albuquerque,
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Santa Fe and Albuquerque are the two in New Mexico. And as we've learned anything from Breaking Bad, it's all white meth heads.
Oh, for sure.
And Arizona's only got like two places as well.
Well, Arizona has, what was it? Arizona Trash? What did, in The Good Place, Kristen Bell's character, Eleanor, what'd she call herself?
Oh yeah. I think it was
Oh.
something like that.
Yeah.
Hot Arizona hot trash or hot
Yeah.
garbage or something like that.
You know, I hear
Yeah.
Arizona's got a lot of illegal voters too.
Well,
No, it doesn't, Tim.
There's a lot of illegal voting going on in Arizona.
No.
there's so
No,
many
there
lies
isn't.
going on around the internet and all
Tim,
this.
no.
We don't need any
Did-
more.
Didn't you guys hear that Trump won Arizona and it's all a lie?
Look, can you at least wait until August when they mount their next rebellion?
Oh yeah, we got like, man, it's only like half a month away.
Yeah, 16 some odd days
Yeah, something like that.
for January 6th 2.0, baby. Take it
Yep.
back, America.
Till Trump gets reinstated for what?
Make
I don't know,
America
whatever.
bleed again. Oh, yeah.
He's just gonna walk into the White House and be like, "This is mine now, Joe Biden." And Joe Biden's gonna be like, "Okay, take it. I don't want it anymore. You can have these crazy fuckers."
I heard that Trump is trying to sue social media and that he has a better chance than most people.
Yeah,
Because he's got the money for it, he's got the everything for it, but
I don't-
that his following has not been as wide and successful since he doesn't have any platforms to talk on.
yeah. He had a failed blog.
Didn't he Didn't he do a rally recently that kind of flopped?
In Ohio.
Yeah.
How many Gen Z TikTokers bought fake tickets?
Oh man, I heard about that. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that happened at I think a rally in Florida back in last year,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, we'll go. We want like 100," and they thought they were gonna have like 60 like 1,000, and only 10,000 people showed up.
Yeah, they thought they were going to fill a whole arena, and they barely got enough people to fill the floor.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I don't care what side that is funny and ingenious, because that's all they were thinking. They're like, wouldn't this be hilarious?
Yeah.
So what are your other questions about the House of Representatives to get us back on topic?
So the next question is about how long House members serve.
2 years. What's wrong with that?
So that's an incredibly short time period for them to get things done when they can only spend 1 year working and then have to spend the next year getting reelected.
Yeah.
That is a gross overestimation of the amount of time they do things.
How would you characterize their work ethic, Nolan?
Non-existent. So you do understand that they have been perpetually on recess, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you understand how that works? They call and they're like, oh, we're supposed to meet today. Okay. They appoint the junior member to like call for a call for a vote to extend their recess by like 2 weeks. And rather than call for a roll call to see who's there, they vote based on the number of people who are there, which is usually never more than 3. They all vote to extend the recess, and then they're on recess for 2 more weeks. And then after 2 weeks, they repeat the process again.
And I think that's just the worst.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, they only have to work. They only get a year before they have to get reelected. First of all, some of those people have been there for decades.
Well, that's true. That's going to tie into the next
thing.
And
second of all, they don't do anything to begin with.
That is true. I mean,
if you gave them more time, they would have to invent ways to do less work.
Like Ron Swanson, I will work all day to make sure somebody does nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Nolan, you were tying in something that was going to be like the second part to this question: congressional term limits for House members, so they don't serve 30 consecutive years as a member of House of Representatives.
I looked online for some of CT's representatives, and they've been state representatives since early 90s. I was like, I wasn't even in the state at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, the state legislatures are even crazier than the House. If you get elected to a state legislature, you're guaranteed, unless you get in some sort of scandal, that's your job for life.
Here I am working a day job like a sucker.
The Connecticut legislature only pays $30,000 a year.
Wow. They must get a lot of kickbacks then. Holy crap.
They try not to.
I mean, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Look, the guy who lives next door to us is a state representative. I know what houses are in this neighborhood. He's not making 30 a year. He's making more.
Well, his wife also works as well.
Yeah, and he's aside from being a House member, he's also a chef. So he makes it's a part-time job, the Connecticut legislature.
I cannot for a moment believe that I make more money than the guy who lives next door. I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry.
I'm telling you.
No, you're wrong.
I'm telling you.
You are being lied to and deceived by your party. There is corruption somewhere. He drives a BMW. And his other job that you said does not pay BMW money. Unless he's understudied a Wolfgang Puck and they're living a double life and nobody told him.
He was an executive chef at a fancy restaurant in Milford.
That doesn't make BMW money, Tim.
I'm
How
just
you
saying.
invest that money.
Yeah, Nolan, it's how you invest. And
I
it's
don't-
worth the
that-
You
more.
don't know. You don't know his financials.
That's
Yeah.
the kickbacks we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Gets insider trading knowledge.
You should, you know what? You should show up at his house one day and be like, "Hey, I know what you're doing in there. I know
Do
what's
you
going
like-
on."
Cooking.
No, that would panic him because it could mean one of any number of things. I know what you're doing in there. And he would just freeze and go, "Oh God, which thing is it?"
What do we think about congressional term limits? How long should they serve?
Term limits. Well, I think. Well, that's tough to say. I think maybe the term should be expanded. So instead of 2 years, maybe make it 4 years, but then make limits so that they can ideally get things done.
Nolan,
One term, 5 years. That's all you get.
that's all you get. One term, 5 years.
Yeah, why not? Presidents get one term, 10 years.
10-year presidency. That's
That's dangerous.
yeah. Imagine if Trump was president for 10 years. He'd be impeached like 8 times by now.
He nearly was. He was at 3 after 4 years. Imagine 6 more years.
He would at that point they'd just stop impeaching him because it wasn't even worth it anymore.
Well, that's how. But then he doesn't get the high score.
I know.
Most
He's already got
impeachable
the-
president.
He's already got the high score, man. He's been there already.
I mean, the
Uh,
biggest issue with the House of Representatives is and always will be the way the lines are drawn, the districting.
Yeah.
Because not only does it ensure a
Safe.
misrepresentation,
Go on.
but also safe elections, which is what I think Chris was about to say.
Yeah. I was going to cut you off, so I apologize for that.
It's
But yeah.
okay.
Don't
No.
apologize for cutting Nolan off. Just fucking cut him off.
No.
She's the type of driver that would do that too.
Yeah. I say that for the road. Watch out.
So yes, the last topic I was going to address would be gerrymandering of congressional districts.
That's not what it's called. That's just called congressional districts.
Yeah.
The gerrymandering is assumed.
Yeah. The parties, whoever's in charge after the census, they redraw the map, whoever's safest for them. And they try and guarantee their power for the next 10 years.
When are they doing that?
This year, I think.
Good. Before the midterm elections?
Yeah.
Cool. Then we're going to see a lot more blue come 2022 or
That's what they're hoping.
23. I don't know.
Uh,
I've seen how some of the district lines are drawn. One of
Yeah.
them, one of the lines drawn, I think it's in Florida. It's literally just, it's like a 5-mile wide corridor. It's literally a highway because one of the laws is the districts have to connect to each other. So they drew it so it encompasses this highway just so these two ridiculously sized things can count as one district.
Here, I'll put a few on the screen because they're not good.
Oh,
Share screen.
I've seen.
Crash to desktop.
I saw Connecticut's. I actually researched Connecticut's, and it's like 2 counties.
There we go. Here's one from this is apparently the most gerrymandered district. That looks like North Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at how fucking crazy that district is.
Oh, can we see Wyoming's?
Where's that?
It's in the west of the country.
Oh, I thought you saw it on here.
No, I said, could you find Wyoming's? Because I'm pretty sure they only get one.
Yeah, they only got one. There you go. There's
It's just the state. That's
Just-
hilarious.
there's Wyoming's first district right there.
First
Just look how there's a 1 still drawn on it in the picture too. In case you were confused, Well, this is just a picture of the state of Wyoming. Yes.
It includes the counties. How nice.
Yeah, it has. Look at all those counties. There's like 1 or 2 people in each of those counties.
Yeah.
That's how they divide it up. That's why it's so square.
Well, no, it's actually based on herding, cattle grazing.
Oh, I see. I see. Each one of those counties is a farm then.
I know in the southeast corner is like Cheyenne and Jackson, which is more populated than what you're giving credit for. My sister was stationed out there when she was in the Air Force. But
here's a gerrymandered district in Texas, in San Antonio.
Oh, right. So the larger urban area of San Antonio is gerrymandered out to the rural areas, therefore ensuring that the large liberal base that lives in the city has its voting cut.
Yep, that's called cracking. That's the term for that. When you
because they smoked a bunch of crack and decided to draw the line.
It's connected from San Antonio to Austin.
Yep.
That's insane.
They want to divide up the Democratic base there, so they.
Yes, Karen. Somebody's fault line they follow.
I think it's the Republicans' fault, but it's just a guess.
Well, that's. No.
Let's see. Let's find another crazy one.
I did see one when it was up on the screen further. That right in this. Oh, yeah, that one. I don't know what state that is, but
this one.
Yes.
Pennsylvania, I believe. Pennsylvania's 7th district is a clusterfuck. Look at that. Yeah. That's not even a shape.
Round is a shape.
That's not even round. It's just a squiggly line.
And there's one thin line that connects the two, like you were saying about Florida.
Yep.
Here's a comparison of 2 congressional districts, and I believe that's North Carolina again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane.
Well, that means that there's nothing in that 1st district, or like nobody lives there, and in that 2nd district or the 12th district must be where all like the cities are.
Yeah.
Like Brawley.
So what's the fix to this? How do they fix this problem?
America cannot. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, basically, we need to be mature enough to look at the states and the cities and the population and divide it up fairly, not safely for those who are in power. You know, it just is, how do we make rules and laws for the people in power to abide by?
So there is a question in the comments. I posted it very briefly, but it's Moses. He asks, so they fix the congressional district for votes, but what other impacts do these insane districts have? And does it affect budgets and public services? And the answer to that is most likely yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it affects who gets elected to represent those. And if you have a population that, while district-wise votes a certain way, but like that crazy one that stretches from San Antonio to Austin we saw in Texas, right? While that crack line votes a certain way, San Antonio and Austin as geographical locations, if you were to look at them without those, probably vote very similarly and very differently from the district line, which means who goes on to represent them, to get them and fight for things that those people might want, is going to affect it. Like if San Antonio and Austin are overwhelmingly blue, but they're districted down so that those areas go overwhelmingly red, then you're going to have the city of San Antonio and Austin not being fairly represented and not getting what those people want for their cities.
Yeah, and it. Oh, you can go, Chris.
Well, what I was going to say too is it depends on who gets elected and what they want. You know, let's take taxes as an example. Ideally, Republicans want to keep the taxes low, and Democrats want to raise the taxes. Those are blanket statements. But let's just say that they're real and go with it. If people in the city say, no, we're willing to pay more taxes so we can have better schools, better infrastructure, and people out and their votes get casted with people who want to vote Republican, then they're not going to benefit from what higher taxes could do. So that's one way to look at it.
There's one more congressional district I want to show you guys, and
Okay.
it's a congressional district in Chicago. It's that crazy nonsense right there.
Yeah.
So that is whoever drew that district was trying to pack all the Democrats into that district.
Mm.
Because there's a city of Chicago right there. And these are all like the suburbs. So they purposefully carved out all the Democrats, and I assume these other districts are red.
Yeah.
But that is a crazy looking district.
Yeah.
Once again, what Nolan was saying, there's thin lines that connect that district.
Yeah. And then that's just because they have to be geographically. You have to be able to get from one part of a district to another.
So what would be the solution? Do they hire like a third party to draw the districts? Do they let a computer do it? Like, obviously Congress can't be responsible for this, even though they are constitutionally. They don't have any they shouldn't have that responsibility, but they do.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense why they do, but they can't be trusted to be impartial.
Yeah.
So you either need an independent, impartial council.
Uncorruptible as well.
Well, that last part doesn't exist.
Unless it's a computer. You can't bribe a computer.
Yeah, but the problem with computers is that you can still wind up with skewed results even by doing it mathematically.
What if they just drew squares and just
the best thing I've heard is that they hire a company known for gerrymandering and pay them to do it, but make it fair.
Okay.
It's really counterintuitive, but it's kind of the only way we could do it in this country. Hire a company that draws the lines and say, okay, we want you to draw these lines. We want you to give us some gerrymandered lines. That's what we're going to pay you to do. But instead of making it for one side or the other, you're going to make it fair.
So they would gerrymander for both sides equally?
Correct.
So everyone would just have a bunch of safe congressional districts with a handful of toss-ups.
Depending on demographics, yeah, but all the districts would be drawn fairly so that the parties would be equally represented.
Right.
Which is really counterintuitive because you're paying the gerrymander people to gerrymander, but you're attempting to use them for the forces of good.
Any closing thoughts on gerrymandering or term limits or
gerrymandering bad?
Term limits good.
All right. I believe that sums up the show pretty easily. Gerrymandering bad.
Bad. Term limits good.
So that brings to an end the actual news portion of our show. Do you guys want to plug your stuff?
Sure.
Chris, I'll make you first. Ladies first.
Ooh, thank you. So my name is Chris Liggio. When I'm a guest on here, I talk about stuff, and when I'm not, I do voice acting in my spare time. If you know anybody who needs a commercial done or needs an audiobook narrated, let me know. And that is my link. You can go and you can listen to my demos.
Cool. Nolan.
Hi. Every
Sorry,
time.
that's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. There we go.
Every time. Every time. Always. When I'm not here, being Tim's long-suffering co-host.
Long suffering.
Well, for this incarnation of the show. I outlasted Keith, so.
Yeah, he just disappeared again.
Yeah, well, he went to go get cigarettes. He'll be back, buddy. Don't worry.
That's what he told me. He said he was going out for a pack of smokes.
Yep. And he'll be back one day, but only if you're good.
It's not looking so good for you right now, Tim.
Yeah.
I know.
When I'm not doing this, I have another podcast that I keep trying to record another episode of, and my co-host and I keep getting distracted. So,
What do you mean by distracted?
instead of recording an episode last weekend, we instead went out to run some errands and then had to cook and didn't have time to record an episode.
Oh, see, that's less fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought distracted meant like you got drunk and forgot.
No, we went into it with the intention to record an episode. It just didn't happen because we had to make dinner for a bunch of people. And then we did get drunk, but we got drunk playing a board game later that evening when we weren't supposed to be recording an episode. Like if we had gotten drunk and recorded the episode, that would have been the opposite of what we were trying to do that evening.
I see. So what do you do on this podcast of yours when you're recording it?
Well, when we record episodes, we talk about everything and anything that you can nerd out about. We have topics, usually every episode, at least one main one, after having a conversation about what we've been nerding out about lately. We're on Facebook. We are also on Apple and Spotify now, I think.
Ooh, Spotify. You know what? I got to put Speaking from the Center on Spotify. It's not there yet. And we have like 20 episodes, so we'd have a good back catalog now.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that's
Here,
it.
I'll take you off I'll throw me up there.
Okay.
Let's see. There we go. And there was a comment that I wanted to put up. There we go. Karen says next time record it while making dinner. She'd watch that.
Ooh.
I will keep that
Those
in
are for
mind.
our Patreon.
Yeah.
Those are specials for our Patreon viewers.
Exclusive content
Thank you.
for the Patreons. Yeah, you know what? If someone gives us money on Patreon, we will do that. We'll record a live streaming episode while making food.
Okay.
Well, do we do it all together? Because I mean,
I think so. We could do it all together. Yeah.
All
We just-
together now.
We just have to figure out whose house we're going to do it at.
I have an idea.
Okay. All right. So once again, if you would like to subscribe to the show, you can do that on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. And you can hit all the buttons, leave a comment, like the show, give us a 5-star review, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter to me. And then go to Patreon, patreon.com/SFTC, and contribute to the show. Be a Patreon subscriber. Be a producer like Jenna, who's going to be on the show in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Thank you, Jana.
I'm excited to meet her
She's pretty awesome.
because I've never met her. I've just seen her comment. I've not even heard her like what she sounds like. So
She works in the healthcare field, so I think that's what our show is going to be about.
Oh, wow.
that won't
Yeah.
be depressing.
Hopefully it won't. But so for everyone at Speaking from the Center, I'm going to end the show and say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.